Beyond Meat stock just had another wild day on the markets, closing at around $1.39 per share, up over 16% for the session. That's a 20-cent jump in a single day. What makes this especially interesting is that the broader markets were down. Tech stocks, small caps, even the S&P were red. But Beyond Meat went green, and not just a little bit green. This wasn't just a random flicker of buying. The stock traded flat for most of Friday, but when signs of recovery started appearing in the broader indexes late in the session, Beyond Meat took off like a rocket. And that immediately reignited a question that keeps coming up every few weeks. Is this the beginning of a turnaround, or just another meme-driven bounce with no real legs behind it? Let's unpack exactly what happened on Friday, what's new behind the scenes, and what investors should be paying attention to as we head into the new week, because this weekend could end up being more important than Monday's open. To understand the move, we need to zoom out a little bit. Beyond Meat has been one of the most volatile tickers of 2025. In late October, it exploded by more than 1,300% in just a few trading sessions, going from pennies to several dollars, before crashing right back down. It was one of the wildest short-term rallies seen in years, and for a moment, it looked like Beyond Meat had reclaimed the meme stock crown. But that spike wasn't driven by fundamentals. It was driven by hype, social media chatter, and algorithmic trading momentum. The company was added to the Roundhill Meme Stock ETF around that time, which supercharged the frenzy. Retail traders piled in, hoping to catch a short squeeze, and the price action followed the classic script: euphoric rise, then sharp collapse. Since then, the stock has been trying to find a new equilibrium. It dipped back toward the $1 range and traded sideways. Most analysts wrote it off. But on Friday, something unusual happened. Despite the market sell-off, Beyond Meat rallied hard into the close. So what's behind this sudden resurgence? Is there a new catalyst, or is this just leftover meme energy trying to squeeze out one more rally? The truth is, it's probably a mix of both, and some new headlines have only made things more complex. Let's start with the latest development that hit after the bell on Friday. Two law firms, Kirby McInerney and Bleichmar Fonti and Auld, announced separate investigations into Beyond Meat. Both are looking into potential violations of federal securities laws related to how the company has handled asset valuations and its recent impairment charge. The Kirby McInerney firm specifically said it's investigating potential securities fraud on behalf of investors. The other firm, BFA Law, is exploring whether the company misrepresented or failed to properly disclose information related to its assets and overall financial condition. These aren't class actions yet, they're investigations, which is the early stage before any lawsuit is filed. But these kind of announcements usually get attention because they can lead to lawsuits later. They also raise questions about transparency, timing, and whether management's recent decisions, like the earnings delay, are tied to deeper accounting issues. For context, Beyond Meat delayed its third quarter earnings report earlier this month, pushing it from November 4th to November 11th. The company said it needed more time to review what it called a material non-cash impairment charge. That's corporate language for something on our balance sheet, like equipment, intellectual property, or goodwill, isn't worth as much as it used to be. Delaying an earnings release to figure out the size of an impairment charge isn't a great look. It signals internal uncertainty and possible financial strain. And now, with two law firms poking around, investors are rightly on edge. So it's no surprise that these legal announcements hit right after the stock had its big Friday jump. It's like the market gave Beyond Meat one good day, and then the lawyers showed up to remind everyone that the story isn't so simple. Now, that doesn't mean Beyond Meat is guilty of anything. Companies get investigated all the time, and many of those investigations don't result in lawsuits or penalties. But it adds another layer of risk on top of what was already a high-risk, speculative stock. And that's where this weekend's conversation gets interesting, because we're at the intersection of momentum and fundamental reality. Let's look at the momentum side first. Beyond Meat has a loyal following among retail traders. It's the kind of stock that keeps showing up on meme stock leaderboards, Reddit threads, and trading discords. Its price action attracts traders because it's cheap, it's volatile, and it has a recognizable brand name. People know Beyond Meat. They've seen the burgers at Walmart or on restaurant menus. And that brand recognition fuels the belief that it can come back. So when the stock jumps 20% in one session, it doesn't necessarily need news to justify it. Momentum itself becomes the catalyst. Algorithms detect volume spikes, traders pile in, shorts scramble to cover temporarily, and the cycle feeds on itself. However, the the fundamentals tell a completely different story. Beyond Meat sales have been falling. Its operating margins are deep in the red. The company remains unprofitable, and it has been burning through cash quarter after quarter. Analysts have repeatedly warned that unless something changes dramatically, the company's financial position will continue to deteriorate. To make matters worse, the debt-for-equity swap the company executed in September caused massive dilution. Beyond Meat issued over 300 million new shares to reduce debt, a move that gave the company a bit more breathing room financially but effectively crushed existing shareholders' ownership stakes. That dilution is why even after a double-digit rally, the stock is still sitting near $1. The share count exploded, so every uptick in price now represents a smaller piece of the pie for each holder. Now combine that with a delayed earnings report and the new legal scrutiny, and you've got a cocktail of volatility that's hard to price. Traders see opportunity. Long-term investors see risk. So why did the stock rise on Friday despite all that? The simplest explanation is speculative flow. When markets fall, retail traders often look for beaten-down tickers that can move sharply in either direction. Beyond Meat fits that bill perfectly. It's cheap, it's heavily shorted, and it has meme stock DNA. Once it starts to move, momentum chasers jump in, and because the float is relatively thin and retail heavy, it doesn't take much buying to trigger a sharp rally. But here's where it gets dangerous. The same momentum that pushes a stock up 20% in a day can erase those gains just as quickly. The slightest bit of bad news, or even just silence, can cause traders to take profits and move on. That's especially true when you've got legal investigations hanging overhead and an earnings report right around the corner. Heading into the new week, there are three main storylines to watch. First, the legal developments. If either of these law firms escalates their investigations or files a class action, it could weigh on sentiment further. Even if nothing concrete happens, the headlines alone can rattle investors who are already nervous. Second, the earnings delay. November 11th is now the critical date. Investors will be watching closely to see how big the impairment charge is and whether management can reassure the market about cash flow and future operations. A small impairment could calm nerves, a large one could spark another sell-off. And third, market psychology. With the stock hovering around 130 to 140, traders are watching that range as a possible support zone. If Beyond Meat can hold or build momentum early next week, it could see another short-term squeeze. But if momentum fades or the market turns risk-off again, those gains could vanish quickly. What's really at stake here is credibility. Beyond Meat was once a growth darling, a symbol of innovation and a plant-based future. But now, its credibility with investors is fragile. Every headline about delays, dilution, or investigations chips away at that trust. The stock's wild swings are a reflection of that uncertainty. It's a tug-of-war between belief and doubt, between those who think the brand can recover and those who see a company slowly losing relevance in a crowded market. For retail traders, this kind of volatility can be exciting. Quick in, quick out. But for long-term investors, the story is much more sobering. The company's core challenges, falling demand, high costs, and cash burn, haven't gone away. Until those issues are addressed, the rallies are likely to be temporary. Still, there's something about Beyond Meat that keeps drawing people in. Maybe it's the nostalgia for when plant-based foods were the future. Maybe it's the hope that one great earnings report can change the narrative. Or maybe it's just that thrill of trading something unpredictable, a little bit of chaos in an otherwise rational market. Whatever the reason, Friday's rally reminds us that meme energy is still alive and well. But it also reminds us how thin the line is between hype and hope. So as we head into the weekend, the big question isn't just whether Beyond Meat can hold this momentum. It's whether the company can regain the trust of investors before legal and financial pressures take their toll. The next 7 days will be critical. If management delivers a transparent and balanced earnings report on November 11th, it could reset expectations and buy more time. But if the numbers disappoint, or if the investigations intensify, the market could lose patience fast. For now, the best way to describe Beyond Meat is this: a speculative spark in search of a stable flame. It's volatile, unpredictable, and full of storylines that change by the day. But that's what makes it fascinating and dangerous. This weekend might feel quiet, but make no mistake, it's the calm before what could be another big move. Traders will be watching. Investors will be waiting. And everyone will be asking the same question: can Beyond Meat find a way to turn this hype into something real?